Is this thing on? So I've had this bike for a couple of days now. I'm at about 650 kilometers in, and I wanted to do an early review before I bring it into the first inspection and let you guys know my initial impression and my initial review on the 2025 Z900. A lot of stuff about this bike is absolutely amazing, so let's get into it. When I bought my CBR, I really thought that I would never ride a naked bike again, and this bike has pretty much confirmed for me the fact that I'm probably never going to ride a sports bike again. This thing is the perfect combination of comfort, performance, and maturity. The 2025 model as it stands got a facelift, and you know, starting at the looks, the bike is already very polarizing. A lot of folks who dug the previous models for the Z900 are not really that happy with the updated face and the updated structure of the bike. Personally, I have to say, this is the first Kawasaki Z900 that I really like. The other ones, honestly, they all kind of look like they were from AliExpress or Temu or something like that, especially with the scuffed rear light, which once again, a lot of people really like the Z backlight. Personally, I don't like it at all. And I think this new updated rear, the new updated front, the new updated aluminum things here, they nailed it. They absolutely nailed this bike. I decided to go with the black because I think the black, first and foremost, is the best color for this vehicle. The SE version, the color scheme, I don't like at all. So I'm not going to be talking about the SE version and the Öhlins shock and the Brembo brakes, whatever. You can look at any other video on YouTube that compares those bikes. This isn't going to be one of them. I'm going to be reviewing my regular Z900. And let me tell you, this thing is plenty. Of course, if you're a super advanced rider, maybe you want to have that Öhlins shock, right, or those Brembo brakes. That being said, didn't hear that many good things about the Brembo brakes. As it stands, the regular base model for this bike is more than enough. Put a slip-on it. This thing sounds absolutely incredible. We're going to listen to that in this video as well. You know, make a couple adjustments like remove the basic mirrors, get some bar end mirrors, still waiting to get my levers changed, change the indicators, change the tail, and this thing's pretty much ready to go and just clean as hell. Just right off the bat, you might see that Kawasaki has improved a lot of the things that I initially critiqued about my CBR. Check out my CBR video, should be somewhere there like in the corner. We got all the details stylized in black and accented in black. We got the passenger foot pegs, the attachment points in black. This thing is black. Everything is stylized in black. The swing arm has a thread for spools for the bobbins, so you can actually use the proper stand for it. Everything about this bike is thoroughly thought of, and they've done a fantastic job at designing it. Especially something that I noticed after I bought, right here you can attach the crash pads, which is just one screw. You just screw them in, bam, done. That's it. Really, is there anything negative I can say about the bike? Well, let me tell you something. When I picked it up, I got a bunch of bad news. They told me that the indicator relay for the 25 model seems to have an issue, and for some reason, the indicators are way too fast. They had an inspector there, and he said it's okay for street use until it gets fixed. It's fine, but it's still kind of odd that that wouldn't happen on the older models. Pillion cover, apparently they can't be delivered right now. Something wrong with that. And besides that, you know, nothing really about this bike that I would say, oh, that's totally a downside. So far, so good, really. The only thing I noticed is that sometimes when you're coming to a standstill, the Kawasaki positive neutral finder doesn't seem to work, and you sometimes just can't shift back into neutral. I've had this happen twice now. Not sure if this is an issue specific for this model or it has something to do with the tire position, the rotational position, something like that. But I stop, you know, and then I'm in first and I want to go into neutral. It just goes into second instead. And when I try to go from second to neutral, it goes into first. So you can't go from second to neutral in that case for some reason. It's the only negative thing that I really noticed. Besides that, I am absolutely in love. Want to talk about the performance a little bit because it is a naked bike and it does have 30 more horsepower in comparison to my CBR. Of course, it's going to be stronger. But what makes this bike so much more fascinating for me to ride is how it's constructed. The engine, how everything works together with each other. The way they designed the length of each gear. It never feels like you're in a gear where the bike doesn't like to be ridden. It always seems good, it always seems smooth, it wants to go fast. Even in 6th gear, you can blast off. It's absolutely crazy. Take a look at my other video if you want to hear the sound of the bike, especially, you know, when it's the cold start and everything. I got all of that up on YouTube if you want to take a look. This is the Bodis GPC RS2 Gex exhaust, and I've been getting a lot of questions about this thing. This sound is completely bonkers. It's like, I've heard this thing with an SC Project, and let me tell you, it doesn't even get close. The SC Project sounds nothing like this. Let me give you a listen. Bear in mind, the bike is warm. This won't be a cold story, but I can give you some revs. And I'm gonna, you know, put my microphone near the exhaust for you to listen to that. As you can hear, the sound is incredible, especially when you're going in lower gears. It doesn't matter really in which gear you're in. It does pops and bangs, even at sixth when you're riding fast, constantly, nonstop. But when you're blipping or when you're shifting, it just constantly pops and bangs. And even if you're riding, cruising at first, second, third gear in the city, it just constantly makes this amazing noise. It has a really nice sound profile. Personally, I don't think it's too annoying. Some other people might beg to differ. Of course, everyone has their preferences when it comes to motorcycle noise. I think this is perfectly fine. It's like right at that spot where it's a cool sound, but it doesn't really bother anyone just by being there, you know? And that's something I want from my bike. I want it to be mature. I don't want to look like, you know, like a bike poser that just goes around and revs the entire time and pops and bangs and shit like that, but it sounds pretty good. Listen to my other video if you don't believe me. As I just mentioned, the quickshifter and blipper are probably the best experience I've ever had riding any bike with a quickshifter and blipper. I've done so many tests right now, the GSX-8R, the Daytona, all of these bikes that I've ridden so far don't even come close to the technology on this bike. The blipper is so damn smooth. It works almost 100% reliable. The quick shifter is incredibly smooth. It works super well at lower speeds, which my CBR, every time I was at lower speeds, the quick shifter, it was just like the entire time, right? This thing doesn't do that. It's a smooth ride the entire time, no matter what gear you're in. And when you are accelerating and shifting, you know, with the quick shifter, it just pops and bangs. I'm gonna show you a video of that, like an excerpt from my other video. This bike is fascinating. The technology, you know, that I don't even come close to fully understanding myself yet and being able to use, but the 6-axis IMU is basically a feature that allows the bike to respond to your braking depending on your lean angle, right? So the technology, the electronics are dependent on what angle your bike is currently at. So if you're at a 30-40% lean angle and you grip the brake, for most of the bikes, you would probably crash. For this, it doesn't at all. It just does a normal brake even if you're at a lean angle. Obviously, those situations are still going to be a bit difficult to handle, but it offers you increased stability and increased safety even in situations that you might not be able to control. People are split on whether you need technology or not. Personally, I think safety features are nice. You never want to use them, but they're nice to have because you might need them at some point, right? They might save you from a really deadly crash. A couple of things I want to mention about the screen is the screen has all the features that I need. You can change a couple of different things. You can look at your water temperature. The water temperature is semi-tied to the oil temperature, so you kind of know where you're at. You have a range indicator, speed indicator, a total time indicator, like the time you've been riding. You have a battery indicator. You have a lean angle indicator, as you can see. Pretty useful in my opinion. And of course, your fuel consumption and average consumption and your range. We can go into the options menu and change the display. If you more prefer the regular old school type of display, it's pretty cool as well. The only thing about it is it doesn't show the 6-axis IMU display, which honestly you don't really need while riding. All the other information is the same. You can show everything that you can show on the other screen as well. The only thing it doesn't show on the screen, as I said, is the IMU, but this also includes the IMU display down here. You cannot cycle through that one. So feel free to pick and choose between those two. If you need that lean angle info, you definitely want to go with the others. But yeah, water temperature. How difficult is that, Honda? The rest of the settings really isn't anything special. I do want to go over the rideology, but I'm going to do that in another video. I want to make a separate video specifically for rideology because I think it's actually pretty good and it's miles better than Honda RoadSync. The cruise control, I never thought that I would need cruise control on a motorcycle. But now that I've done a couple of rides longer than 3, 4, 5 hours, I noticed that you don't use the cruise control all the time, especially on twisties and stuff like that. You won't be able to have it on all the time. If you're riding for longer, straighter periods of time, being being able to turn it on and off with just a click of a button makes it so easy and simple to use that you constantly alleviate the stress on your wrists and your hand and everything. It's such an amazingly comfortable ride. I don't even know how else to describe it. The seat personally isn't amazing, but it's also not bad. I would say it's about the same level of comfort as the CBR seat. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's fantastic. But let me tell you though, whether it's the CBR or this bike, I don't have any ass whatsoever, okay? I'm flat as fuck. Doesn't matter what bike I sit on, my ass is gonna hurt. I've been looking into like ways to fix that, like gel pants or something like that. It just is what it is, man. I don't have any ass. I'm gonna have to deal with it. Besides that, you know, really enjoyable ride. I've been able to already put about 37 degrees lean angle on these brand new tires, and I'm really comfortable with it, and I feel like there's so much space for me to improve. These tires are the Dunlop Sportsmax Q5A. These are brand new. They just hit the market and there aren't many reviews up for them. I tried looking some up. Nothing. You can't really find anything because they're brand new. A lot of people are saying these are really good, and then there's other people saying these are really bad. So we'll have to wait and see how that crystallizes what people think about the tires in the long run, really, for me to be able to really say anything about that. But so far, I've been really enjoying them. They've been giving me every grip I need. I still have them on the default PSI, right? I didn't change anything yet, but I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna remove like 0.4 bar or something from every tire. I just want them to be lower so I have more grip. That's really it. So far, everything about this bike has been absolutely fantastic. I did notice it gets a bit warmer because it's a black bike and because it's a bigger engine. My CBR, I never really had anything in my head about temperature. When riding, nothing ever came to my mind. It just never felt hot at all. Obviously, it's a black bike. If you're gonna touch it in sunlight, it's gonna be super hot, and this directly transfers to your body, right? Because you're in touch with your motorcycle, but it's not that big of a deal, really isn't. I also want to talk about the brakes. So these Nissin brakes, incredible. They're sharp. It requires very little force to fully brake. Might be scary to beginners, especially if you're gripping. So if you just grip in, it will immediately slow down like crazy. So you want to, be careful with that. I have a couple of things planned for this bike. I want to do a couple of, visual modifications. I want to add some handlebar guards. I think that would look pretty cool. I want to try and add some colored decals on them. I'm still debating whether I want to go with the red or I'm just going to stick with like black silver. Feel free to leave your opinion in the comments. What would look better, red or silver accents? Currently leaning more towards silver, but I'm really excited to get working on that. Yeah, I honestly kind of want to just keep it short and let you know my first impression about the bike. I'm incredibly happy. This thing is a blast to ride. Please go check it out. Go to your nearest Kawasaki dealership, do a test ride, and you'll see for yourself how this thing is worlds different than anything else you've probably been riding before. I'm incredibly happy with my decision to sell the CBR and buy this instead. It fits me much better. I think the entirety of the bike, also the size and the weight and everything, is just more mature for me. It fits my size a bit better. I feel like I'm not too cramped on it, and that's probably the best thing about it, is that it's just a way better fit for me than the CBR ever was. Still, I'm incredibly happy about what I learned and that I made my way to this bike, because if it wasn't for the CBR, I would have probably never even purchased this. And also, thanks to the guy who recommended me to ride this in one of my comments, I would have never had it on my radar if someone wasn't mentioning it for me and letting me know, hey, test ride the Z900 and see what you think. I'm really glad I did something. I'm excited for my continuous journey with this motorcycle. We're probably going to go to Italy this year. I hope that I can film the entire trip, give you some cool impressions what it is to ride this thing for about 500 to 1,000 miles or kilometers, whatever. This bike is an absolute blast. I can't repeat myself enough. It's just so fun to ride, and every time I look at it and I start it, I smile. I mean, that's the same thing with every bike, right? But if you do really find that one bike that is absolutely a perfect fit for you, is something else entirely. I hope it stays this way. Really satisfied with my purchase. If this video helped you out, please let me know in the comments. Give me some feedback. Anything else you want to see about the bike. If you have any questions, I'll answer them in the upcoming videos or even in the comments. Feel free to hit me up on social media. I just recently rebranded to Zenkai Zeto. It's sort of a play on Dragon Ball Z, right? With the Zeto and Zenkai being their ability. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.